Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Umber Rays. There's no text below me, not for this video, because this is a rare moment. Anyone who watches my videos, and I feel like I start a lot of videos like that, knows that I am critical of Wotv, and for good reasons. I personally don't fall on the side of, or ultimately on the side of, businesses, mainly because they are not people. They are not, they support people, but for the most part, you know where the money always goes. And it goes to the higher-ups and the executives, and it feels like a lot of companies now treat developers and lower-end people as just disposable, but, that's not really the topic of this video. Point is that I am not on Wotv's side too terribly much. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I end up feeling like we really deserve a better game constantly, with better content in the game, with more generosity, with lowering the cost of the game. And for instance, raids are just something that I don't think are very, very good. But I am going to now talk about something that I do think is really good, and that is the introduction of Book 2. As a matter of fact, I think all of April is looking like just a stellar month. And to be fair, it did take 3 months to get to this point, basically, is kind of what it's felt like. So, starting the month off with Charlotte was pretty exciting, because she is a character that I think is, pretty popular in terms of Brave Exvius. And then taking a look at, this part of the month, we got a raid, which isn't too exciting. I still think, again, raids need to be vastly improved. But this update actually came with the brand new book, and I'm trying to keep this opening, generally vague and spoiler-free, but we'll get into a little bit more of spoilers in a little bit here. But in general, I have to say that for the drought, it has felt like a particular high this month, with some interesting units and a fair amount of EXs coming in the way of EXs I've, kind of even been waiting for, with Venera and Laswell. Venera's review is coming right around the corner and whatnot. But taking a look at like this update with the story update is something that I've been really longing for a long time. New settings, new environments, new characters, new nations, and potentially new enemies as well, which is a little dicey, but overall I have to say that I am quite pleased, and we're not even through the month with Final Fantasy VII coming, and hopefully it will be an upgrade to a lot of the collaborations we've seen in the past. Particularly with some interactivity between the characters of Wotv and the characters of Final Fantasy VII. As a matter of fact, I think it would be really interesting if it wasn't Mont who had interactions. But, Book 1 was just so tiring of dealing with the Mont, Machery, Stern story. And I'm glad that, Book 2 is feeling like a refreshing change of pace, which is something that I think is very exciting for me. So yeah, alright, at this point, I've kept it as vague as I wanted to for a long period of time. Let's get into spoilers, and at this point, you guys can just know that I am thinking very positively about this month, about the content being published, and I think that Book 2 is really exciting. So now, I'm going to talk about it. So Book 2, we're into spoilers now, is following Jaden. If you click out on here, you can actually see the titles of the two books. So Book 1 is basically Crossblade, and Book 2 is called Bloody Bullet, where we are going to be focusing on a new group. As a matter of fact, Part 1 actually has us following Jaden and his army, which is interesting. Not only because of that, but we've seen a couple of new characters very early on in the story to do with more of Jaden's elite. Not just Lucia and Larudo, but we're also getting to see a lot more characters, such as a brand new assassin and a brand new, looks like a commander type, not entirely sure. But all of this was really exciting, not only because of that, because of the way the story started. And, this is you know, spoiler territory, so I don't feel too bad about showing this, but let's here. Go into here. Because this is how we are greeted once we start story 2. And this feels like, hey, wow, this is, somebody put some production behind this. That's actually really, really impressive. And it's kind of interesting because it feels like Wotv, you know, we have an opening anime intro, but this is very CG orientated. So Wotv kind of has this tone issue of its animation with constantly changing what it feels like. But JPN is kind of this weird thing where, like, he's obviously a very powerful central character. You know, he is one of the vision rings, much like Mont. And all of that is really, really cool because it provides, you know, a little bit of a difference against Mont. His nation is obviously a very powerful one. Ye old Gatling gun, which I think is a little suspect. But this video is a really cool intro and really does kind of kick stuff off with this idea of, you know, changing things up a bit and giving a new tone to the brand new season. But at the same time, you know, we're obviously going to see Mont return in the story and play a major part as... and by the way, I've already made the Spaceballs reference, so there's no point in saying that. But if you haven't watched it recently, go watch Spaceballs again, and you know you'll probably get the ring joke. Or I guess Sauron would be another one. But yeah, this is a really cool intro video, and I'm glad that they did this. It does feel like a really nice upping of production quality where, you know, for a while it's been feeling like, oh, where is the money going? This is pretty cool. Still kind of want the general cost, but you know, that is... So the new story, we're finding that Jaden's army is click the wrong button. Jaden's army is going up against another nation of entirely new characters, and that is, again, something I really like. I like the changing of setting, just because it does give a little bit different. And just to load in, this has also been presented to us, so a little bit of details about some of the characters. Of course, Jaden, who we, I think, at this point know enough about, but we also learn about the nation of Ois, which will be looking to be a central focus of the brand new story. Ois is a father of 3 sisters, or 3 daughters, I guess, slight mistranslation there. I took this off of Reddit as well, but I think it's on their official site. He is another possessor of one of the ancient rings, or the ancient relics from Gilgamesh. So that is going to make him a contender. And not only that, but his daughter is also a major part of the story, which is kind of interesting. It feels a little bit different, I guess, from what we've been seeing in the past. And not only that, but the character design on these two is considerably different, with elf-like ears, but also sporting some horns too. So the design of these characters feels very different. As a matter of fact, I'm curious if they even classify as human. I would almost, just as a total Wotv meta imbalancer, I want these characters to be classified as like elves and not humans, so that we have a bit of a shift, because it feels like Odin is just a little bit too strong. It'd be kind of nice to get away from that and into something different, but it's really cool to see just a new nation of characters whose designs are entirely different and feeling very original. Although, I don't know, this is not appropriate battle attire either, and her shoulder, her arm armor is just... Oh, you'll find out when you see it in game. It looks a little ridiculous. But we're seeing tying in of other characters which we have previously been introduced into the story, and the introduction of what is probably going to be my favorite nation, the Hindra Nation. I love dragons, I love dragoons, and, you know, obviously I have a maxed out Kane, so that's got to be telling you a little bit of where my priorities lie. But the Hindra Nation, who is a ally of Rundal Nation, they also have their own soldiers, which have a distinct and unique look to them, although they kind of fall into the, you know, similar classes. But here we have the King of Hindra, which just a great, awesome looking set of armor. Can't quite see fully. I'm very curious if that's a scythe or a really weird spear. Either way, this character is looking really interesting. Love the armor design and loving the variety here. Leading into, you know, some other characters that are also brand new. This one obviously looking to be a new double gunner, and really just cool looking purple and black theme, but also the silver hair just kind of makes her pop a little bit out of the armor. And last but not least, a brand new Dragoon, which of course everyone's going to jump saying to, hey, it's just like Kane. But in all honesty, I think it's a little bit more like Epstein from Final Fantasy XIV, and I don't think I got that name wrong. But anyway, his armor, like, to me, looking at Kane in this game, especially in the Wotv style, it looks more like a rubber bodysuit always to me, more than it looks like armor. And this looks like armor, which I like. I am more of a fan of, like, knights and, like, clad in armor and some interesting designs and everything. So this looks very much more like a traditional Dragoon to me. I guess Kane is a traditional Dragoon, but overall, I have to say that Book 2 just feels like such a breath of fresh air after dealing with Book 1 for so long. And this is very presumptuous that everything's going to be okay. Obviously, this could go on. This story could be dragged out for too long. This book could be just too many chapters and probably needs to be cut down and edited a little bit and all of that. But it is exciting to see, like, a plethora of new characters between these images taken from the website, the Hindra, the Oas, and Rundal Nation, plus what we've seen in the story. There's a lot of new characters that have been introduced in a very short amount of time, and I'm just curious, when we start getting these characters, especially the Hindra, for the first time, I think, almost ever, since basically Glassy came into the game, I actually don't want to see side stories for a little bit. I actually want to see a speed up of story content and some of these characters enter the game because they look really cool. Oh, by the way, she is basically my favorite character of the ones introduced thus far. But there's a lot of new characters, and feeling very visually distinct between the nations, and so far setting up for an interesting conflict because we are just getting away from that tired old Machery, Mont, and Stern dynamic that was going on for a while there. So I have high hopes for this, and I don't really get to publish like a video a lot of times where I gush about a piece of content that has been added to the game. But this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. Like, this is a big shot in the arm for Wotv's story. And it doesn't make up for the fact that we have repetitive, overly grindy content still, you know. I really still want to see raids improved. I really want to see trials improved. I want to see a new type of event as well. But I have to give it to them. If nothing else, April is kind of kicking it so far on the JP side. And Globalers can look forward to all of this stuff in the future. So anyway, something positive to talk about for a change. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't get too used to it. I'm sure I'll find something to complain about, right? Like, that's what so many of the sometimes comments say. Like, oh, you don't like anything. Wrong. Found stuff I like. Thanks for watching. Take care, and see you next time.